Yeah, you've got three teams, the top three teams all want to win next year on different levels. Mavericks probably thinking, let's get to a conference finals. If Kyrie's healthy, let's win a championship. The Spurs want to make the playoffs. Philadelphia wants to win a championship. It's which brings up another off-topic point. Like, does the NBA need to change this lottery system? Right, like falling inside that top four, it gives you a 14% chance of a top three, I guess, winning of getting the number one overall pick. That's not a huge number. Like, that's not a big number. And I get that the NBA wants to curb tanking, but those 14% odds didn't stop Utah from mailing it in, didn't stop Charlotte from mailing it in. These teams stunk it out anyway. I do think as the NBA moves forward, I think they should increase the odds for these lower tier teams because that's the only way they get better. Like Utah, we'll get to them, but they're sitting there with the number 5 pick. Like that's most likely not going to yield them a franchise player. And the one thing the Utah Jazz are missing is a franchise player. Like I think that even though it further incentivizes the race to the bottom, I think the NBA's done everything it possibly can to disincentivize that with the play-in tournament and expanding the field effectively to 10 teams. If I'm the league going into the next lottery, I'm bumping those odds up a little bit. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but I think that's the right way to go because I don't think it does anybody any good to have the Dallas Mavericks, who even though they had a 1.8% chance, it's not that big a gap from 14, right? Like it's still within the ballpark there. I think they need to bump up those odds.
I think you have to bump it up a little bit. I don't know if we go back to the 25 for number one.
Maybe
there's probably some middle ground you could find. But I do think, again, the problem is if you go into this tanking spiral and then you don't win the lottery the way that Utah hasn't or Washington hasn't, like, what's the path out, right? And it's easy to say. And I wrote this, I think, with Washington. Like, all right, you could go draft Trey Johnson and then gear up again to tank again in 2026 and hope you get AJ Devonsa or Cam Boozer or Darren Peterson. Like, it's a great 26 class. Yeah, but if you were in one of those organizations this week in Chicago, like how miserable must you have been last night? Just like, all right, I guess we're gearing up for another year of this, and
I can tell you, like in the drawing room, like their representatives were miserable, like just sitting there watching, and you can tell, like for a little bit of insight into this room, like when the balls come out, the higher if some of those higher numbers pop out, that I believe almost always means a good team is going to wind up with that pick. So you saw the first numbers come out. 3 of them were 10 or over. You're thinking that like somebody is up there. Portland was right there in the mix. I think they were 1 ball off from landing the number 1 overall pick. And you can just see the life come out of the representatives of Utah, Washington, Charlotte, the teams that were sitting there hoping to land Cooper Flag. By the way, another side note, there's no rigging of the system. Like there is no lottery rigging. I have been in that lottery room for almost 10 years, give or take with the pandemic and everything. I think I'm the longest reigning drawing room media representative. It's either me or Zach Lowe. It's one or the other. There is no way that you can rig the lottery. It's just impossible. Like the steps that the NBA takes to eliminate these frozen envelope conspiracy theories, and I'm not old enough to remember if that could have been plausible or not, but I'm telling you, there is no rigging of this ping pong ball system. There's 14 balls in a giant water jug. They get the air, it's blown up where 1 ball comes out 1 at a time every 10 seconds. The guy that's raising his hand to signal that another ball should come out has his back to the machine. Like everything they're doing is to ensure transparency there. So while it's crazy that the Dallas Mavericks get the number 1 overall pick, and I get the conspiracy theories that are out there. Thank you for sending Luka to the Lakers. Here's the number 1 pick for your troubles. That is not, in actuality, facts. But I do think, to go back to the point of the lottery, 20% maybe, you bump the odds up a little bit to give these teams like Dallas, like Washington, like Charlotte. I mean, maybe not Charlotte. They've got maybe 2 franchise players. But like teams like that, a chance to land that guy.